Dia, you asked what did I learn from your video? Well, it's a lot, so I thought I'll just make a little video myself talking about what I learned. First, I learned about you. I had no idea what you were about, but the video really reveals your spirit. Your spirit comes through, and it's a beautiful spirit. You have a beautiful spirit. Then, yeah, it was torn up right in the beginning by that guy you started with. They call Gypsy something Gypsy. Uh, he is a very interesting character, and really, I do agree he has charisma. Anyway, I have very mixed feelings about him. It's interesting who gets popular, who gets the attention, because in Jason Kona is my favorite guy in this sphere. He would say that all you have to do to get attention is to play the villain in the anti-white narrative. And it does seem that the Gypsy guy is definitely playing the villain in the anti-white narrative. So I don't think I would ever have really come across him, but that was one of the things I learned is you showed me him, and as we went along, and he shocked me again and again with different ways he was behaving, and I came to really think I came to despise him, but then as you interviewed him more, I came to see his human side, and I started to believe his story of how he went from being a civic nationalist and kind of a mainstream believer to being won over to embracing the villain role of of being akin to the so-called National Socialists. And that was a very interesting window into those characters, into him as a character, and there were many more great characters. I mean, I thought your style of interviewing, you're very heartfelt and sincere, and your desire to make a harmonious world for us all. It really touched me, and it touched me the way you drew out the humanity and saw the humanity of all the different players you were interviewing, or characters. The ones that were kind of going down the villain role. I call it the villain role, the ones who are the Nazi LARPers. Because you had another guy there that was full of tattoos that was in that category. You interviewed some black people who always, the blacks were what I would call the talented 10th. I noticed you didn't really talk to any, you sometimes talked about, but you didn't actually talk to any of the the blacks were all in the talented 10th. It seemed like that you were holding up, and we agree. I mean, I agree that I knew there was a talented 10th, and there is a talented 10th, and it's said that the talented 10th, actually in the talk that white people are supposed to be given, we're warned that we'll all want to have friends in the talented 10th so we can say we have black friends, but meanwhile, we're kind of ignoring or trying to minimize the reality of the biospirit and the nature of those untalented. And not only the untalented, but then you get downright, if there's a talented 10th, how big are the really messed up one? How big of a percentage is that? It was a huge thing I learned was what you went through, because you have had the courage to publish some of the dark stuff about the horrible atrocities committed in South Africa, and that horrible boy, did that ever shock me. The young woman having her head caved in with a tree. Anyway, horrible. this horrible, inhumane things that are part of the reality that we have to deal with. There's so much reality that we have to deal with here. And then I loved that I learned a lot by you. I've been trying to track down that guy, Duvid, because I had seen him before, and I had lost track of his name and how to find him. But he was interesting, and your interview with him was interesting. And I learned more about him. And I think watching your interaction with him, I learned a lot about you, because he is such a. I love that you picked out such characters who are like, they're kind of all out. They're all out about their, or they're all in. Maybe is the term, all in on being. Playing their role in all this theater that we have going on in the world. And Duvid really, and he's unabashedly of his tribe, and he really like manifests the stereotype to an amazing degree. I wonder, I'd kind of like to interview him someday. Although I don't trust him to ever tell the truth to my people. So, but on the other hand, he's more willing to be openly honest about the motives and priorities of his people than most of them are, than many are. But anyway, I learned a lot. From your handling of him and his handling of you, and your frustration with him using pill pull on you and not being willing to give you a straight answer, and him being proud of that, knowing, but that's what we do. We don't talk honestly and openly. We're always running a scam, and we're always looking to trick. And you won't ever know what we really think. But when we're talking to each other, we think of how we take advantage of you. And, so then it was interesting to see among those talented 10th people to learn how many of them really do believe parts of the anti-white narrative. So that I would say this idea of Duvid's people weaponizing this general resentment and jealousy against us has been very successful, and that's depressing to me. Oh, and that's another reason I want you to talk to Jason, is I think he has a good map for what is motivating the anti-whites. Because there's the anti-whites have formed almost a coalition, a coalition to act on their frustration with us being in the world, and I really don't like being targeted for extinction without me really having deserved it. So those are some thoughts. I probably have more that I should talk about, but that's a quick response, and I look forward to getting to know you better, learning more of your work. I'm very glad that you're in the world, and I'm glad that we're on Champions of the Light together.